and they love God, but he's out of sight, out of mind, and so it doesn't cross their mind to live for him. It crossed their mind just to live for self. Right, we've had a wonderful time. Excited to be up here. Brought 2 of the boys with me on this trip. And Nathan said, I don't want to go. I said, why? I don't like the roads. He's tired of traveling. He's ready to get up here, he said, but he doesn't want to keep driving. So I understand that. So we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah. I just want to go through the book of Jeremiah a little at a time and just study this book. I love the book of Jeremiah. It's very thought-provoking. It's very thought-provoking for a preacher to study this man. And it was thought-provoking before I ever became a preacher or pastor to study this man. I love studying this particular man. In Jeremiah, we looked at how God had called him at a young age. God told him what his plan was, and he's continuing what he was telling him. And in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse number 10. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 10. God himself is talking to Jeremiah. God did speak verbally, audibly to people back in those days. And he said in verse 10, see, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down, and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. Now he put him in a leadership position. He said, I'm putting you over the nations. So he wasn't just making him a prophet to just the children of Israel. God actually made him a prophet to everybody in every nation he came in contact with. Jeremiah, and as a matter of fact, if you really want to get particular and specific, he's still a preacher to us through the Word of God. I mean, if you want to get technical about it, it wasn't just a temporary thing. We still have the Word of Jeremiah speaking to us, the words of God through Jeremiah speaking to us today. But God told him, he said, I'm putting you over the nations and over the kingdoms. And he goes into a list of things, and I think it's just pretty interesting how God deals with it almost like he's going to build a building. Before you build a building, you've got to clear the land and prepare the ground before you can even lay the foundation. The foundation has to be laid for the building. It has to, or it's not even worth being built. You have to have a good foundation. But before, you don't just go pour a foundation anywhere. I don't know how many of you have ever done any concrete work. I've not done any significant concrete work. But I have done a little bit, enough to know that I don't like it. There was a building down in Oklahoma that had existed at one time. And it was completely gone, and all that was there was a broken, deteriorated, crumbling concrete slab. Next to it was an office building. And next to it on the other side was probably about a 2-car garage, barn type garage. And it looked like it was sitting at about an angle like that. The whole barn was about angled like that. And the owner of the property wanted me to completely remove all of that old concrete slab, to straighten that barn back up, and then to build a new office building between the office building that existed and the barn and connect them all. By myself. It took a long time. By myself. The reason was, I was working a full-time job at night, 11 to 7. I was in Bible college, and so I couldn't get over there to work every single day, 8 hours a day. I could put in 3 to 4 hours a day. And as I was there, we had to get some equipment in, because I didn't have it, and then to tear all that old concrete out. That's time-consuming. busting up and tearing out concrete. And then to level the ground out, set up the forms, and re-pour a concrete slab. There was a lot of work involved in that. He liked my work so much that he actually had me dig him a driveway, or a parking lot for his office. I dug his driveway, a shovelful at a time. I did some crazy work back then. We had a lot of fun though. Him and I, he owned a real estate company. He was a great man, loved the Lord. We had a great time. I enjoyed fellowship with him. And he took care of me financially when he paid me well. And the Lord really blessed our friendship. And we're still good friends, his family and I. He's gone on into heaven now. But just the time and the preparation goes before you can even start the building process. And he told Jeremiah, first thing you're going to have to do, he said, root out, pull down. They've got stuff built. They've got stuff in the area that doesn't need to be there. You're going to have to tear some stuff out. To destroy, to throw down, to build and to plant. He said, you've got a lot of work cut out for you. A lot of work. This nation of Israel had been so blessed by God. They should not have had a lot of work, had to have a lot of work. It should have been just like a simple upgrading or updating of facilities and things. It shouldn't have had to be a complete teardown and rebuild. I've said it before, and you'll probably hear me say it again and again and again. Many times when you hear stuff like that, think about the nation you're in. There's a lot of things in this nation that can't be remodeled. There's a lot of things going on in this nation that are going to have to be completely tore down, rooted out, and started all over again because we've allowed so much nonsense and junk in our nation. Just looking at houses in this town, just looking at houses, the photograph makes it look wonderful. And then you show up and you look at it and it's like, this house should just be bulldozed. It really is. There's houses like that they're trying to sell. When I was in Oklahoma looking for a house, down there, they had a house valued, or they were asking $60,000 for it. $60,000. And the picture looked like a ranch-style home with a red, the old red barn paint with a white trim. The house had all that, and just a beautiful looked like it was sitting in a little bit of a field there. And I told my wife, let's go look at that one. $60,000, that's not bad. It was sitting on a few acres. So we showed up. I pulled up. There was no driveway to the house. It was in the field like it showed in the picture. And my wife looked, she said, I'll wait here. I said, I understand. There were trees growing up inside the house, through the roof. There was not a house there. But the description of the house in their sales pitch was very well done. It just needed fixing up. It didn't need fixing up. There was no fixing that house. When you have a house that has at least 2 trees growing through it, you're not fixing the house anymore. And so we just walked away from that one. But that's how it is. There are times when you get to a point that you can no longer fix something. You've got to tear it down and start all over. That's where Jeremiah was. God told him, you're going to have a hard row to hoe ahead of you. And he goes on, verse 11, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what seest thou? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Then said the Lord unto me, thou hast well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform it. Now, the almond tree, the rod, usually in the Bible signifies the discipline of God. And God was signifying to Jeremiah he was going to bring judgment and discipline on the nation of Israel. What interests me, I have no idea how old Jeremiah was at this time. I think he was still a young man when God was still describing this. But I think the significance is that Jeremiah at that age, whatever it was able to look at a rod and to be able to tell exactly what kind of tree it came from. I mean, honestly, how many of you could take a branch? I could take a branch technically, if you think about a rod, it's usually something that's been stripped of its bark, too. Technically. Could you take a branch that's been stripped of its bark and tell me what kind of wood it is, or what it came off of? I think that shows that the young man had paid attention in life and knew a little bit about what was going on around him. I think that's just significant. It shows a little bit about the heart and attitude of a young man who's preparing for life. Not knowing that God was preparing him, but he was paying attention in life. And I try to, that's one of the reasons I try to tell my children, get around adults and learn from them. Because I don't know everything in life. I know about the things that I've done and that I've been around. You know what you've been around. You can teach them something that I can't teach them because you have dealt with life in different aspects and areas that I've dealt with. So you could teach my children things that I'll never be able to teach them. There are some people there's one gentleman in the church in Oklahoma that when it comes to insects or plants, I tell him, go talk to him about it. He knows about this. He's an engineer. The guy is brilliant. And I tell him, go talk to him. When we get to church tonight, go ask him about it. I mean, I could look it up in a book, but I want them to go to somebody that has experience, that has dealt with these things, that knows what I love seeing the interaction. And I believe it shows a little bit of significance about Jeremiah as a young man who paid attention enough that when God revealed something to him, he's like, oh, I know what that is. It's a rod off an almond tree. I've talked to so many people about different things, and I tell them, my boys, they know quite a bit. Because there's some people that have invested some time into them and taught them some things. And I pray that that'll continue. That they'll continue to have that interaction and relationship, that they'll continue to learn. So, just a simple thing, but to me it's significant because it shows the heart and character of a young man already. Verse number 13, and the word of the Lord came unto me the second time, saying, what seest thou? And I said, I see a seething pot, and the face thereof is toward the north. Then the Lord said unto me, out of the north evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For lo, I will call all the families of the kingdoms of the north, saith the Lord. And they shall come, and they shall set every one his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, and against all the walls thereof round about, and against all the cities of Judah. And I will utter my judgments against them, touching all their wickedness, who have forsaken me, and have burned incense unto other gods, and worshipped the works of their own hands. The significance of this, God asked him, what do you see? He said, I see a seething pot. Something that was used used for just boiling flesh and meat and stuff like that. And he says, I see something that just intense heat and ready for cooking something. God says, I'm revealing to you that I'm going to bring together all the nations out of the north to bring judgment on this place. Now, it's amazing when you can get all the nations to gather together against one. But over time, you saw the different kings that were working together, and they came together, and Babylon had just about taken over most of the other kingdoms, and so when they came down, everyone was either a subject to them or was willing to spend time with them because they had so much power that God revealed how he was going to punish them and take them into captivity. When somebody tells you what's going to happen if you do something, you would think that that person would say, I'm not going to do that because I don't want that punishment. I do not want that. I play around with different things with children. some of my classes, and I'd ask them, I'd say, just out of curiosity, let's just throw out something that's bad. And they'll tell you, oh, lying is bad. You say, well, what should we do if somebody lies to us? And they'll give their consequence or their, what they should get. I said, all right, what's something else that's bad? And from then on, usually they'll start comparing whatever they say is bad to the first problem. From then on, it's compared to lying. So if killing is worse than lying to them. And so, there's a greater punishment for killing. And you start revealing consequences. And after a while, you start realizing, when you stop and think about it, well, some of these things that were very, very bad at the beginning of the conversation, something else came up that's worse. So now that's so insignificant that the kids are like, well, that's not so bad. We can handle that punishment. And that the consequences just don't look so bad anymore. Because there's worse consequences for other actions. And I don't know if that's the situation that Israel got into. But it got to where it's like God told them specifically, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be destroyed. You're going to be taken apart. All the nations of the north are going to come together, and they're going to set up their kingdoms and thrones right around you, and they're going to take you out. And I don't know if Israel had gotten to the point where they're like, well, that's not so bad. We've seen problems. Well, that's nothing. I mean, our family spent time in Egypt and Pharaoh, and then we got away from Pharaoh years ago. I don't know if that's the case, but it just seems like there comes a time when it's like consequences just don't matter to people anymore. They're still willing to go through and live their own life and do it as they please. Talk about the abortion crowd. They know the medical problems that have happened to these ladies that have had abortions. They know it. They know how traumatizing it is on the mother herself. But they're still willing to put it on the line as it's a safe and healthy and good procedure. And I don't know if you've ever read the laws on any of that. But there are laws on the books in some states that say abortion is not legal except for certain vile acts like rape and stuff, and then they'll also put, or for the life of the mother. Which sounds so wonderful and thoughtful that they care about the mother. It sounds like. And then they go into detail. They have described what the life of the mother is. You know what the life of the mother is? If it's going to be stressful, if she just doesn't think she can handle it, and that will cause stress, so therefore, stress causes problems down the road, so therefore, that could be affecting the life of the mother. So if she just thinks, I don't want to have this one, it could be causing stress in her life, so therefore, that could be a life-threatening problem. A child is a consequence of an action that was taken. And we think, well, I have a right to do as I please and to remove the consequence. Well, you don't have the right to change the consequences. That's where our nation is. We want to change all the consequences of our actions. God told them, here's the consequence. In verse 17, he says, now therefore, God telling Jeremiah, gird up thy loins and arise, and speak unto them all that I command thee. Be not dismayed at their faces, lest I confound thee before them. He said, don't worry about what they look like. You ever had a dirty look given to you? Somebody give you that look that, you just look at them and you're afraid to speak to them because they've already started out with that look like, go ahead, just say it. Just open your mouth. And they're looking at you with that look. And it's like, should I tell them now or should I wait till a better time? And that's what God told Jeremiah. Don't be dismayed at their faces. When I tell you to say something, there's not going to be a better time for you to figure it out. Just do what you're told. Just do what you're supposed to do. Say what you're supposed to say. There are many times. I personally, there's biblical backing for what I believe. I have a hard time personally speaking out against authority. I do. For a couple of reasons. Number one, you've got to be very careful about how you do it. Not that you can't do it, not that it's wrong, but in how you do it. Number one, to just come out instantly, publicly against authority has never been biblically admonished. It never has been. And also to deal with one-on-one individually, that's not an authority, is not biblically admonished to come out one-on-one publicly against. There are Bible ways of dealing with issues and problems. One-on-one with an individual is the biblical way to handle a problem. If it does not get worked out, what's the next way? Take a witness. Have a witness there present. At least 2 or 3 of you present. If it doesn't get resolved then it comes out public. That is a biblical way of dealing with it. When you're dealing with an authority, there is one step that is bypassed in that process. You don't go one-on-one with them. Take a witness first time. Deal with it with another person, with a witness present. The reason I believe God is very wise, and I believe there's reasons for why He does things. One of them, I believe, is when you go one-on-one with authority, because they have the authority, they can turn it right back around once you are done speaking, and they can turn it back around and accuse you of things that you were talking to them about. Because they have power and authority, and so you look like, and who are you going to say? Well, this is what I said to them. Well, it's your word against theirs, and they're the authority. But when you take a witness, someone who is just there as a witness for it, and the authority tries to turn it on you, you say, I know what I said, but I also had a witness present to make sure this didn't get out of hand. Ask them as well. I believe God is very wise in how He deals with things. And it's not always easy to deal with somebody in authority, but there are times that when I have, that even in dealing with authority, that I knew was, even in a business sense, I personally get so nervous on the inside. I get jittery. I actually do get a little bit of a timidity about me. But I know that it has to be dealt with. Certain things at work, maybe about safety, or certain issues about following proper protocol. There comes a time when you know it has to be dealt with. When I go in to deal with an authority, I go in a little bit timid because I do not want to be out of line and start something that gets out of hand. But I know it has to be dealt with at the same time. So you've got to use wisdom. And Jeremiah here, he was given this authority to be over kings and over kingdoms. He was going to be, and God said, don't worry about their faces. You are going to deal with them. As I say, or I'll confound you. He said, I'll confound you. You don't want to deal with it. Lest I confound thee before them. Verse 18, I want you to see this promise. This is a beloved promise to Jeremiah. For behold, I have made thee this day a defense city, and an iron pillar, and brazen walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof. That's his own family. He's from the lineage of priests. His family was priests. He was actually going to be speaking out against his own preacher family, basically. And against the people of the land. They shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee, for I am with thee, saith the Lord, to deliver thee. I don't know how many people at a very young age would like to be told something like this. God says, I have a job for you. I have a major job for you. You're going to be against, it looks like, everybody. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of you. Nathan, come here. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. See all of them? You do? It's going to be exciting. You ready? You like excitement? He's like, I don't know what my dad puts me up to. I'm not sure if I like excitement. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a contest, okay? Everybody against you. You ready? Doesn't that look exciting? Look, don't be afraid. You imagine Jeremiah? Don't be afraid. Everybody, it's you against everybody. Can I be on your team? Just you and me? Still doesn't look fair, does it? God, I don't see you. You say you're on my side and you're going to take care of me, but I don't see you. It looks like it's just me and them still. Is it fair? Have a seat. Could you imagine Jeremiah? It's me against everybody, kings, leadership, and then God says priests. He told him your own family is going to be against you, and you're going to be against your own family. Don't worry about it. Now, think about it. We're going to have a family get-together. Family time! Jeremiah, you're invited. Come on. How do you think family get-togethers were in that generation? When everybody's against Jeremiah, he's against everybody. I know a lot of stories about family reunions where somebody shows up to a family reunion. Then it's just like the family reunion's going, everybody's having a good time. This person shows up and whoosh, so-and-so's here. And it's just like, I don't know if you've ever done it. You take a bowl of water and just pour pepper all over. Just dump pepper on it. And it just sits there and floats on the top of the water. Then take your finger and get some dish soap on it. And just take that finger with dish soap and just touch that water. And that pepper just whoosh out to the edges. It runs from that soap. It's scared of it. It doesn't like it. And you just imagine a family reunion like that. Everybody's getting together. Oh, all the priests. I mean, it's got to be a good family reunion because they're all preachers and preachers' families. And Jeremiah walks in, and it's just like, I can just picture it. Jeremiah's here. What's he going to say? All right, everybody. Can you imagine? This is the priesthood of Israel. All right, everybody. No talking about religion or politics. Bunch of priests saying, don't talk about religion. You know why? They don't want Jeremiah involved. God told Jeremiah, you got significant work. The more you stop and think about that, the scarier his job becomes. I don't think I would like a job like that. You know, family is special. It is. But there does come a time when correcting needs to be taken into consideration. Changes need to be made for the family to continue in a manner in which it should, in a direction which it should be going. I have some pretty decent neighbors down there in Oklahoma. And you know what? I've tried to make a difference in people's lives. Of course, it is the Lord working through us, because there's no morals outside of God. There's not. There's no morality outside of God. There's no such thing as good people or good things outside of God. Good is all because of God. And so we try to make a significant difference in people's lives. And when my wife's dad was incapacitated, and he couldn't get out of bed. My wife spent some time, about a year here in Missouri, trying to take care of him, nurse him back to health. During that time, I was very busy, so we saw each other maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks. She'd come down to Oklahoma and spend the weekend every at least a couple weeks, if not 3 to 4. But spend a weekend there, take care of what we needed to do, and she'd go back up to Missouri. And it came to Thanksgiving time, and I knew that it was just so crazy, so much going on, that I wasn't going to be able to get together with any family members that year. And just so happened that my neighbor came over and said, we have our family getting together, and for Thanksgiving, we'd really like for you to show up and just say the prayer at our family Thanksgiving dinner. So I'd be honored, and I did. That was a couple years ago. Well, just this couple days ago, they called up again and asked. They said, could you come and say something, and say something at our family Christmas party, and then pray. And I didn't answer the phone because I was busy. They told that to my wife. Asked my wife if I could show up for that, and told them it wasn't going to be able to work out. But to see that it's an honor. It's an honor to do something like that. But at the same time, you just hope that if you can't show up to somebody else's family together, that they have somebody that they trust in their family, that they would give that honor to, able to pray and speak at a Christmas get-together for their family. And I don't know. I'm going to close with this. I don't know what it was like. I don't know what it was like. But it amazes me that when you have a special God-called man like Jeremiah, it amazes me that one of the groups he's going to have to speak out to are the priests and the men of God of his own generation. I think it would probably not be difficult to speak out to the kings. And probably not be as difficult to speak to the people. But to go to your own family of preachers and tell them you're wrong. I think that's probably one of the hardest things that Jeremiah was going to have to do. Special man, special calling, special purpose. God said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. And I think it's significant because later on you will see how often God does take care of him in some times that he should not have survived. He should not have. It just amazes me how God took care of Jeremiah. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for the testimony of Jeremiah, how wonderful you have been in keeping your word. Lord, you are so just amazing. When we actually take the time to read the Word of God and realize how you've kept your word for these thousands of years that this earth has been in existence, and you haven't lied once, why would we in this day and age not still trust you? And we have all these testimonies. Lord, we don't. We still fail you. Help us to get a little more faith, a little closer to you, and to live for you. In your name I pray.